The great chamber of the Galactic Council was silent as Ambassador Park Do-hyun walked toward the central platform. His footsteps echoed against the polished floor, each step measured and calm. Around him, hundreds of alien representatives sat in their crystalline podiums, their strange eyes watching the small human with expressions ranging from boredom to open contempt. Do-hyun was 63 years old. He had spent 40 years serving humanity among the stars, and in all that time, he had learned one important truth. The galaxy did not respect humans. It tolerated them. It used them. But it never, not once, treated them as equals. He stopped at the speaker's circle and looked up at the towering figure of Councillor Varth. The Kelani representative was massive, his blue-scaled body wrapped in robes of gold thread. His four eyes stared down at Do-hyun with the same look a man might give an insect. "The Council recognizes the human delegation," Varth said, his voice deep and slow. "You may speak your concerns about Resolution 7749. Do-hyun bowed his head slightly. "Thank you, Counselor." Resolution 7749 would limit human colonization to worlds classified as barren or uninhabitable. We asked the Council to explain why this restriction applies only to humanity. A ripple of whispers moved through the chamber. Several representatives made sounds that might have been laughter. Varth's lips curled. "The resolution is for the benefit of all species. Humans breed quickly. You spread quickly. The Council must manage growth for the stability of the galaxy. Other species are not limited in this way," Do-hyun said. "Other species have proven their value over thousands of years." Varth replied, "Humanity has been in space for only 3 centuries. You are young. You must earn the privileges you seek." Do-hyun felt his communicator vibrate against his wrist. He glanced down and saw a message from Commander Lee Yuna aboard the human cruiser Steadfast. The message contained a video file marked urgent. He opened it. The video showed a human medical convoy, 3 ships carrying supplies to a colony suffering from disease. The ships were clearly marked with humanitarian symbols. Then, from the darkness of space, colony warships appeared. They opened fire without warning. The medical ships exploded one by one. 400 human lives, gone in seconds. Do-hyun's hands did not shake. His face did not change. But something inside him grew very cold. "Councillor Varth," he said, his voice steady. 3 days ago, a Kelani military patrol destroyed a human medical convoy in neutral space. 400 of our people died. We have requested an investigation. The Council has refused." Varth waved one massive hand. "There is no evidence of wrongdoing. Your ships likely entered restricted territory. These accidents happen. They were in neutral space. We have the navigation records." "Records can be altered," Varth said. "The Council will not waste resources investigating the claims of a minor species." The chamber fell silent. Do-hyun looked around at the hundreds of faces watching him. Some looked uncomfortable. Most looked indifferent. A few, like Varth, looked amused. He thought about the 300 years humanity had spent trying to prove itself. They had sent their best and brightest to serve the Council. They had fought in wars that were not their own. They had built, repaired, healed, and protected. And in return, they had received nothing but contempt. His communicator vibrated again. A single message from Earth. Authorization granted. Proceed. Do-hyun took a deep breath. "I have a statement to read." "Make it brief," Varth said. "The Council has important matters to discuss." "It will be very brief." Do-hyun pulled a small tablet from his coat and began to read. "To the Galactic Council and all its member species. For 300 years, humanity has sought friendship among the stars. We came to you with open hands and hopeful hearts. We asked only to be treated as equals." He paused and looked up at Varth. You treated us as servants. You used our labor, our technology, and our lives. When we asked for justice, you laughed. When we asked for respect, you gave us chains. The chamber had grown very quiet. Today, humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council. All treaties, agreements, and obligations between Earth and Council space are hereby ended. Our ships will return to our territory. Our people will return to our worlds. We will have no further contact with any Council species. Vorith leaned forward, his four eyes narrowing. You cannot be serious. Humanity cannot survive without the Council's protection. Dohin smiled, and there was no warmth in it. We came to you as friends. You treated us as servants. We leave as strangers. He placed the tablet back in his coat. May you never learn what it means to need us. He turned and walked toward the chamber doors. Behind him, he could hear voices rising in confusion and anger. Someone called for him to stop. Someone demanded he return and apologize. The other members of the human delegation fell into step behind him. Commander Lee Yuna was waiting at the doors with a security team. Her face was hard, but her eyes were bright. Is it done? She asked quietly. It is done, Dohin replied. They walked through the doors together. Behind them, the great chamber erupted into chaos. Representatives shouted at each other. Some demanded immediate action against the humans. Others called for calm. Councillor Vorith sat in his podium, watching the doors close. For the first time in his long life, he felt something strange. It took him a moment to recognize the feeling. It was uncertainty. The human ships departed. Nexus Prime Station within the hour. They moved in perfect formation, their engines burning bright against the darkness of space. On the station, thousands of beings watched them go. In the council chamber, the arguments continued long into the night. Most representatives believed the humans would return within days, begging for forgiveness. They were a small species, after all, weak, dependent. They would learn their place. But deep in the archives of the station, a young analyst named Drix was running numbers. He was looking at all the things humans did for the council. The ships they built, the routes they patrolled, the technology they maintained. The numbers made him afraid. He tried to show his findings to his superiors. They told him not to worry. Humans were replaceable. The galaxy would barely notice their absence. Drix was not so sure. He looked out his window at the last human ship disappearing into the void. What have we done? He whispered. No one answered. 3 months passed, and the galaxy began to notice small things. Admiral Kang Ji-seok stood on the bridge of the carrier unbroken, watching his fleet cross the border into human space. Behind him, 12 warships followed in perfect formation. These were the peacekeeping vessels, the ones that had patrolled Council shipping lanes for 200 years. All ships have cleared Council territory, his second officer reported. We are home. Ji-seok nodded slowly. He had spent 30 years keeping peace in a galaxy that despised his people. He had saved countless lives, protected countless ships, and received nothing but insults in return. Now it was over. Send a message to command, he said. The 7th Fleet has returned. Patrol routes are abandoned as ordered. On Nexus Prime Station, Councillor Dexara of the Varuni received the news with growing concern. The Varuni were a peaceful species, known for their wisdom and their fear of conflict. Dexara had always tried to speak kindly of the humans, even when it was not popular. Now she was discovering just how much the Council had depended on them. The Meridian Trade Corridor is failing, her assistant reported. The navigation beacons are going offline one by one. No one knows how to repair them. The humans built those beacons, Dexara said quietly. Yes, and they maintained them. For 200 years. Dexara closed her eyes. The Meridian Corridor was the most important trade route in the Eastern Galaxy. Thousands of ships used it every day. Without the beacons, navigation was dangerous. Ships would be lost. Trade would slow. Economies would suffer. Can we not learn to repair them ourselves? She asked. Her assistant shook his head. The technology is unlike anything we have seen. Our engineers do not understand it. Across the galaxy, similar problems were appearing. The Council had never realized how many essential systems depended on human knowledge. Power stations built by human engineers began to fail. Medical equipment designed by human scientists broke down with no one to fix it. Agricultural systems that humans had quietly managed for decades started to malfunction. And then there was the matter of Dr. Choi My-Ray. My-Ray was humanity's greatest xenobiologist. She had spent 50 years studying alien diseases, developing cures that saved millions of lives. Her greatest work was a treatment for the Kalani genetic plague, a terrible sickness that had killed billions of Varith's people over the centuries. The plague had returned. Cases were appearing across Kalani space. The Council immediately sent a request to Dr. Choi, asking her to share her research. Her response was a single sentence: Earth is not sharing medical data with Council species at this time. Varith was furious. He demanded that the Council send a fleet to take the research by force. Other representatives stopped him, but only barely. The arguments in the Council chamber grew louder each day. Meanwhile, Councilor Thexara made a quiet journey to the edge of human space. She brought a small diplomatic ship, no weapons, no guards. She hoped that a personal appeal might reach human hearts. She found the border closed. A Cosidus, single human patrol ship met her at the boundary. Its captain was a young woman named Beak Nari, whose face showed no emotion as she spoke through the communication screen. Councilor Thexara, you are approaching human territory. Please turn back. I come in peace, Thexara said. I wish only to speak with your leaders, to find a way to heal this wound between our peoples. Earth is not receiving visitors at this time, Nari replied. Please turn back. I was always kind to your people, Thexara said, her voice breaking slightly. I spoke for you when others would not. Surely that means something. Nari's expression did not change, but something flickered in her eyes. You were kind, Counselor, but you never stopped them. You watched while they hurt us, and you did nothing. She paused. Please turn back. This is your final warning. Thexara turned back. The weeks continued to pass. Problems multiplied. Pirate attacks increased along routes that human ships no longer patrolled. 3 Council cargo vessels were destroyed in a single week. The Council tried to increase their own patrols, but they did not have enough ships. They had never needed them before. The humans had always been there. A young analyst named Drix continued his research in the station archives. Each day, he discovered new ways that humans had quietly supported the galaxy. They had been subsidizing food production for 17 species, asking nothing in return. They had been maintaining communication networks that no one else understood. They had been running rescue operations in dangerous regions where other species refused to go. Drix tried again to warn the Council. This time, a few representatives listened. They called a private meeting to discuss his findings. If this is true, one of them said, we are in serious trouble. It is true, Drix said. The humans were not just workers. They were holding everything together. And we never noticed because we never bothered to look. Far away, in the human colony of New Seoul, Professor Nam Yoonji watched the news from Council space. Ships lost. Systems failing. Disease spreading. She felt no joy at their suffering, but she felt no guilt either. Her own daughter had been on one of those medical ships, the ones the Kalani destroyed. They are learning, she said to herself. Slowly, painfully, they are learning what we were worth. On Earth, President Wang Jian addressed the human people in a global broadcast. Her words were calm but firm. We have spent 3 centuries trying to earn the respect of the galaxy. We have given our labor, our knowledge, and our blood. In return, we receive contempt and cruelty. Today, we choose a different path. We will build our own future among our own stars. Let the galaxy manage without us. Let them discover what they have lost. The broadcast ended. Across human space, people watched in silence. Some felt fear. Many felt pride. All felt something they had not felt in a very long time. Hope. In the council chamber, Vareth finally managed to make a direct call to Earth. He demanded to speak with human leadership. He threatened. He bargained. He even, in his desperation, came close to apologizing. The call was declined. No explanation. No negotiation. Just silence. Morris stared at the blank screen for a long time. Around him, his advisors whispered nervously. The Kalani plague was spreading faster now. His own children had begun showing symptoms. For the first time in his life, the Great Council of Vareth felt small. And in the darkness of space, human ships continued their silent watch at the border. They asked nothing. They offered nothing. They simply waited. The galaxy had wanted to be rid of humans. Now it had its wish. 1 year after humanity walked away, the galaxy was burning. The Threxian hive had always hated the Varuni. For centuries, they had wanted to destroy their ancient enemies, but they never dared. Human peacekeeping fleets had always stood between them, ready to stop any war before it started. Now the humans were gone. The Threxian swarm ships crossed the border on a cold morning in the galactic calendar. There were thousands of them, their dark holes blotting out the stars. They struck 3 Varuni colony worlds in the first wave. Millions died before anyone could respond. Councilor Dexara watched the reports come in with tears streaming down her face. Her homeworld was safe for now, but her people were dying across the sector. She begged the council for help. She demanded action. The council argued for 6 days. By the time they agreed to send a peacekeeping force, 7 more worlds had fallen. Captain Beek Sunho commanded the human border patrol near Varuni space. He watched the war unfold on his tactical screens, seeing the death toll climb higher each hour. His crew looked to him with questions in their eyes. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "we are receiving distress signals from Varuni civilian ships. They are asking for asylum in human space." Sunho closed his eyes. He thought about the Varuni he had met during his years of service. Many had been kind to humans. Some had even defended them in council debates. But when the time came to vote, when it truly mattered, they had always sided with Vareth. They had always chosen the easy path. "Deny entry," he said. "No council vessels are permitted to cross the border." "Sir, there are children on those ships. I know." Sunho's voice was heavy. "Deny entry. Those are our orders." The refugee ships turned away. Some headed deeper into council space, searching for safety. Others simply drifted, waiting for the Threxian swarms to find them. Back on the Kalani homeworld, the plague had reached crisis levels. Hospitals overflowed with the dying. Entire cities were placed under quarantine. The death count passed 10 million and continued to climb. Councilor Vareth's youngest child died on a morning when the sky was clear and blue. The great leader stood by the small body, his massive hands trembling. He had always believed that power could solve any problem. He had always believed that he was in control. Now he understood that he had controlled nothing. Professor Nam Yunji released a single broadcast to the galaxy. Her face was calm, her voice steady. "The cure for the Kalani plague exists. I developed it myself, using 20 years of research. It is safe, effective, and could save millions of lives." She paused, and her eyes grew cold. It will not be shared with Council species. You called us animals. You murdered our children. Now you will learn the price of your cruelty." The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, beings watched in horror. Some cursed the humans for their coldness. Others quietly admitted that they understood. The council held an emergency session. Some representatives demanded war against humanity. They argued that the humans must be forced to share their knowledge, their technology, their resources. Others warned that such a war would only make things worse. A leaked recording from the session spread across the galaxy. It showed Vareth arguing loudly for military action. "They are just humans," he growled. "We outnumber them 1,000 to 1. We will crush them and take what we need." Another representative, a small being from a species that had always been friendly to humans, spoke up nervously. "Counselor, we do not know what the humans are capable of. They have hidden much from us." Voreth laughed. "What could they possibly hide? They are a weak species. They have always been weak. They have no power without us." The recording cut off. But the damage was done. Human intelligence agencies ensured that every human citizen saw it. Fleet Commander O Taiwan received word that Council warships were massing near the border. Intelligence suggested a strike force of over 200 vessels, drawn from 6 different species. Their target appeared to be the human colony of Harmony-7. Taiwan called a meeting with his senior officers. They gathered in the war room of the carrier Defiance, their faces grim. "They will attack within the week," Taiwan said. "They believe we are weak. They believe we cannot fight." "Let them believe," said Admiral Kang Jiziok, who had joined the Border Command after returning from Council space. "We have prepared for this day for a very long time. The Council has no idea what they are facing," added Commander Li Yuna. "They have never seen our true capabilities." Taiwan nodded slowly. "For 300 years we hid our strength. We built in secret. We trained in silence. We waited for the day when we would need to defend ourselves." He looked around the room at his officers. These were men and women who had suffered insults, violence, and contempt from the galaxy. They had watched their friends die. They had buried their children. And through it all, they had remained patient. Now their patience was ending. "Send a message to the approaching fleet," Taiwan said. "One sentence only. Make sure they understand." The communications officer nodded. "What should the message say, sir?" Taiwan's eyes were hard as stone. "Approach and discover why we were never afraid of you." The message was sent. The Council fleet received it and laughed. A species that had spent 3 centuries serving as laborers and peacekeepers could not possibly pose a threat. This would be a simple operation. They would seize the colony, take the humans prisoner, and force them to share their knowledge. They were so very certain. In the colony of Harmony-7, Governor Shin Hyang received word that the attack was coming. She was a small woman 50 years old, with gray hair and steady hands. She had governed the colony for 15 years, building it from a struggling settlement into a thriving world. Now she would defend it. "Activate all defensive systems," she ordered. "Prepare for orbital assault, and send the message to Earth. Tell them we are ready." Deep beneath the colony's surface, machines that had been sleeping for decades began to wake. Weapons platforms rose from hidden bunkers. Shield generators powered up. Defense satellites activated in orbit. The colonists of Harmony-7 had lived peaceful lives for generations. But they had never forgotten their history. They had never stopped preparing. The Council fleet approached. Confident in their overwhelming numbers, they had no idea what was waiting for them. And across the galaxy, other human colonies began their own preparations. Secret facilities opened. Hidden fleets emerged from the darkness. Technology that the Council had never suspected began to come online. Humanity had spent 300, Years being underestimated. That time was ending. The Council fleet arrived at Harmony 7 on a day that would be remembered for centuries. 243 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel, their weapons already charging. Admiral Korath of the Kalani commanded the coalition force. He was old, experienced, and absolutely certain of victory. "Scan the colony," he ordered. "Identify their defenses." His sensor officer worked for several moments, then frowned. "Admiral, I am detecting unusual energy signatures. The readings do not match any known human technology." Korath waved his hand dismissively. "Human technology is primitive. They have probably built some minor defensive platforms. It will not matter." He opened a communication channel to the colony. "Humans of Harmony 7, this is Admiral Korath of the Galactic Council Coalition. You will surrender immediately. Your leaders will be arrested. Your technology will be seized. Resistance will result in the destruction of your world." Governor Shin Hyung appeared on his screen. She was sitting calmly in her office, a cup of tea in her hands. She did not look afraid. "Admiral Korath," she said pleasantly, "thank you for the warning. I have a warning of my own. If your fleet advances beyond the outer orbital marker, you will be destroyed. This is not a threat. It is a fact." Korath laughed. "You are one small colony. We have 200 warships. Your courage is admirable, but foolish." Hyung took a sip of her tea. "You have been told. What happens next is your choice." She cut the communication. Korath shook his head in disbelief. The arrogance of these humans was remarkable. Did they not understand their position? Did they not see the overwhelming force arrayed against them? "All ships advance," he commanded. "Target their orbital installations. Begin the assault." The coalition fleet moved forward. They crossed the outer orbital marker, and then everything changed. The first wave of human missiles came from nowhere. They were faster than anything the Council had ever seen, their warheads carrying weapons that defied understanding. The leading Council ships simply ceased to exist, their hulls torn apart by forces that their shields could not stop. "Evasive action," Korath screamed. "All ships return fire." But there was nothing to fire at. The missiles came from hidden platforms that the Council sensors could not detect. Defense satellites that had appeared dead suddenly activated, pouring fire into the confused fleet. The colony itself was protected by a shield that absorbed everything the Council ships threw at it. On the surface, Governor Hyun watched the battle calmly. "Deploy the second wave," she ordered. From the dark side of the colony's moon, ships emerged. They were human vessels, but they were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Their hulls were sleek and dark, their engines burning with an unfamiliar light. They moved faster than Council ships, turned sharper, struck harder. Admiral Kang Jiziok commanded the hidden fleet from the carrier Unbroken. He had waited his entire life for this moment. "All ships engage," he said quietly. "Show them who we are." The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the Council coalition had lost 147 ships. Admiral Korath was dead, his flagship destroyed in the first hour. The survivors fled into faster-than-light travel, scattering in all directions. Not a single human ship was lost. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread like wildfire. The Council species watched in stunned disbelief as reports came in. Humans had weapons that could destroy ships in seconds. They had shields that could not be broken. They had technology that made the most advanced. Council systems looked primitive. General Yu Min-seo delivered a broadcast to the galaxy. She was a tall woman with silver hair and eyes that had seen too much death. For 300 years, humanity has hidden its true capabilities. We developed technology in secret. We built weapons in silence. We trained our forces away from watching eyes. We did this not because we wanted war, but because we knew that one day, war would come to us. She paused, her gaze steady. We never showed you our true strength because we believed in peace. We hoped that diplomacy and patience would earn us respect. We were wrong. You have taught us that mercy is weakness. You have taught us that kindness is invitation for abuse. A voice hardened. Learn this lesson well. Humanity will never be your servant again. Attack us, and you will be destroyed. Threaten us, and you will regret it. We ask nothing from you but to be left alone. Grant us this, and there will be peace. Deny us, and there will be consequences you cannot imagine. The broadcast ended. On Nexus Prime Station, the Council was in chaos. Vorath had been removed from power by his own people, who blamed him for the disaster. The Kelani were dying by the millions, their plague still spreading with no cure. The war with the Threxians continued to devastate the Varuni. And now, humanity had revealed itself as a military power that could crush any coalition the Council could assemble. Counselor Vexara was elected as the new Council leader. She immediately tried to contact human leadership, begging for negotiations. Her calls were not answered for 3 days. When the response finally came, it was from Ambassador Park Do-hyun. His face was older now, more tired, but his eyes were the same. Counselor Vexara, he said, humanity has received your requests for dialogue. We are considering them. Please, Vexara said, we need help. The plague is killing the Kelani. The war is destroying the Varuni. The galaxy is falling apart. Yes, Do-hyun agreed. It is. And whose fault is that? Vexara had no answer. For 300 years, we asked only for fairness. You gave us contempt. We asked for justice. You gave us cruelty. We asked to be treated as equals. You treated us as slaves. Do-hyun's voice was cold, but not angry. He was simply stating facts. We made mistakes, Vexara admitted. Terrible mistakes. But please, do not let innocents die for the sins of their leaders. Do-hyun was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. Earth will consider your request. We will contact you when we have decided. The screen went dark. Vexara sat alone in her chamber for a long time. She thought about all the time she could have done more. All the votes where she had stayed silent. All the moments when she had chosen comfort over courage. The humans were not evil. She understood that now. They were simply done. They had endured too much, and now they felt nothing but cold determination. She could not blame them, but she could hope. She could hope that somewhere in the human heart, there was still room for mercy. She bowed her head and waited. And across the galaxy, the human fleets maintained their positions. They did not advance. They did not attack. They simply watched and waited and remembered everything that had been done to them. The reckoning had only just begun. 5 years had passed since humanity walked out of the Galactic Council chamber. The galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The Galactic Council still existed, but it was a shadow of its former self. Half its member species had left, unable to survive the chaos that followed humanity's departure. The great chamber on Nexus Prime Station, once filled with hundreds of representatives, now held barely 50. The empty podiums stood as silent reminders of what had been lost. Humanity had built something new. President Wang Jian stood before the assembly of the Terran Compact, a gathering of 13 species who had chosen to join with humanity. These were the smaller peoples, the ones who had also suffered under Council arrogance. They had recognized the truth that the Council refused to see. Together, they were stronger. 5 years ago, we left the Council because we could no longer accept being treated as lesser beings, Jian said. Today, we stand together as equals. No species in this compact is above another. No voice is ignored. This is the foundation of our alliance, and it will never change. The representatives of 12 alien species nodded in agreement. Among them were the Nixari, a small people known for their skill in medicine. The Karathine, ancient beings who had been mocked by the Council for centuries. The Velthari, whose homeworld had been saved by human rescue ships when the Council abandoned them. These species remembered who had helped them when they needed it most. Ambassador Park Do-yoon was 90 years old now. His body was frail, but his mind was sharp. He had retired from active service, but he remained an advisor to human leadership. He had earned that right. On this day, he received an unexpected visitor. Counselor Dexara arrived at his home on Earth, traveling alone. She was old now too, her purple skin faded, her movements slow. But her eyes still held the same gentle wisdom that Do-yoon remembered. "Ambassador," she said, bowing low. "Thank you for agreeing to see me, Counselor." Do-yoon gestured to a chair. "Please, sit. You have traveled far." They sat together in his garden, surrounded by flowers that Do-yoon had grown himself. For a moment, neither spoke. The past hung between them like a weight. "The Kelani are dying," Dexara finally said. "The plague has killed nearly 100 million of them. Their civilization is collapsing. Vorith's children all died years ago. He killed himself last month." Do-yoon nodded slowly. He felt no joy at Vorith's death. He felt nothing at all. "Dr. Choi Murray has the cure," Dexara continued. "Everyone knows this. I am here to beg you, as one old being to another. Please, help us save them." "Why should we?" Do-yoon asked quietly. "The Kelani murdered our children. They laughed when we asked for justice. They sent a fleet to enslave our colonies. Why should we help them now?" Dexara had no answer that would satisfy logic. She only had truth. "Because you are better than us," she said. "You always were. That is why we feared you. That is why we tried to keep you down. We saw your potential, and it terrified us. We told ourselves you were primitive, dangerous, unworthy. But deep down, we knew the truth." She reached out and touched his hand. "Please, Do-yoon. I know what we did. I know it can never be forgiven. But there are children dying. Children who never hurt anyone. Let them live." Do-yoon looked at her for a long time. He thought about his own grandchildren, playing in the garden outside his window. He thought about the young people who had died on those medical ships so many years ago. He thought about everything that had happened. Then he picked up his communicator and made a call. "Dr. Choi," he said. "This is Park Do-yoon. I am sitting with Counselor Dexara. She has come to ask for the plague cure." There was silence on the other end. Then Dr. Choi Murray spoke, her voice older but still strong. "I know, Ambassador. I've been watching the news. Millions are dead. What do you want to do?" Another long pause. "My daughter died because of the Kelani. I swore I would never forgive them." Murray's voice caught slightly. But she was a healer. She gave her life trying to save others. "If I let children die when I could save them, I betray everything she believed in. So you will share the cure?" "I will deliver it myself," Murray said. "On one condition. The Council must publicly acknowledge everything they did to humanity. Every injustice, every death, every lie. The galaxy must know the truth." Do-yoon relayed the terms to Dexara. She agreed immediately. "It will be done," she promised. "The Council will confess its crimes. We will hold nothing back." 3 months later, Dr. Choi Murray landed on the Kelani homeworld. She was 75 years old, her hair white, her hands still steady. She carried with her the cure that would save millions of lives. The Kelani who met her ship were silent. They did not know how to react. This human woman had every reason to hate them. Yet here she was, offering salvation. Murray walked through the crowds without fear. She entered the hospitals and began her work. For 3 weeks, she moved from city to city, treating the sick, training local doctors, saving lives. On the last day of her mission, a young Kalani mother approached her. The woman was holding a small child who had been cured just that morning. "Why?" the mother asked, tears streaming down her face. "Why would you help us after everything we did?" Myre looked at the child in the mother's arms. So small, so innocent. "Because this is who we are," she said. "We choose to be merciful. We choose to be kind. Not because you deserve it, but because we refuse to become what you tried to make us." She walked away, leaving the mother standing in silence. On Earth, a monument was built in the capital city. It was a simple wall of black stone, carved with the names of every human who had died due to council actions. There were thousands of names. The wall stretched for nearly a mile. People came from across human space to see it. They touched the names. They wept. They remembered. Lieutenant Baysomi stood before the wall on a quiet morning. She was 26 years old, a pilot in the new Terran compact fleet. Her great-grandmother's name was carved into the stone, one of the first human diplomats to be humiliated by the council, long ago. "We remember," Somi whispered. "We will always remember." She turned and walked toward the spaceport. Her ship was waiting, a sleek explorer vessel designed for long-range missions into unknown space. The Terran Compact had decided to look outward, to find new stars and new possibilities, far from the old wounds of the past. Somi climbed into the captain's chair and looked at her crew. They were young like her, born after the withdrawal. They had grown up in a humanity that no longer bowed to anyone. "Set course for the outer reach," she ordered. "Let us see what is out there." The ship lifted off from Earth and climbed into the sky. It passed through the atmosphere and emerged into the darkness of space. Ahead, the stars waited, countless and unknown. Somi thought about everything her people had endured. The centuries of pain, the years of contempt, the struggle for dignity. And now, at last, freedom. "They called us small," she said quietly. "They called us weak. They never asked what we were waiting for." A first officer looked at her curiously. "What were we waiting for, Captain?" Somi smiled. "For this moment. For the chance to show the galaxy what humanity truly is. Not conquerors. Not servants. Just people, reaching for the stars on our own terms." The ship accelerated into the void, carrying its crew toward whatever future awaited them. Behind them, the old galaxy continued to heal. The council survived, humbled and changed. The Terran Compact grew stronger each year. And everywhere, beings who had once dismissed humanity now spoke of them with respect and wonder. Humanity had wanted nothing but equality. In the end, they had achieved something greater. They had found themselves.